Hey guys, it's James here, and just before this video starts, I'm recording this at Donington Park today. So you're gonna be seeing all the exciting action there that's taking though for long, over 2 hours though. So yeah, I'm sorry to say that though. But anyway, even though you're gonna be seeing a lot of races that are actually coming through this, it won't be taking long over 20 minutes, 3 minutes race to see them. Over 2 hours for this race, it's gonna be very good for me then, guys. I know it took a lot of time to try and do a lot of recording at Donington Park. I've been doing outside. I've been done today, so you'll be seeing a lot of footage though. So yeah, even though it's good there, but if you do like this, so go check it out though. So even though hopefully and by the way though, so I'll be doing some more of those F1 games as well, and so the Genshin Impact as well. And that's why I'm be doing that in the future as well, but not quite any of the game as well. But I will do some of the as well in the future though. But anyway, even though it's gonna be long for this, guys, it's gonna be very amazing though indeed. But yeah, I think that's might be all I to say though indeed. So yeah. And then working for 2 hours though, so hopefully you enjoyed this video, guys. Hope you check out the other races though. So anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this Donington Park video, and I'll see you, and I'll talk to you all later in the next video. Very good. Enjoy this video, guys, and I'll talk to you later. Either you can't hear me though, because of noisy cars. And I like racing like Formula One. Look at that McLaren car. Okay. Wow, look at these big off back right now. Wow. Classic car.
Number 15, Simon Tate. 135.997.
I need you.
Oh, we've got yellow flag. Corson, who is that? Do I need to slow down? Someone has gone off then.
Safety car might be broken down.
Safety car deployed. Yeah, safety car to 5. Number 4 is Thomas Peterson. Number 4 is pitting. That's where was Giles coming to the pits.
Well, technically, there's no reason why shouldn't be in the pit.
The safety car. There's safety car has come out because there's been a collision.
No, James, no, you're
Might not
seeing
be.
things. Probably his car stopped.
Because of a problem with the gearbox. Mr. Yellow, when I was doing. I think this is the fully race though.
No, I can't see where it is on the CCTV. So
I can't see on the track as well. Don't know where the hell it is. Where that car is. Some cars I think what's going on. Well, we don't know the situation whether Mars want to move that car out of the way though. Where is it on the circuit? I think it's just behind us though. Wait,
There it is.
following the safety car then. So this is so. The car is doing. Okay, so the balance is still in the race. I think what the back of the is after the race.
it's just in that bit as a empty single season slot, in fact, on the Vauxhall Junior Formula Renault has a decent Formula 4s to really define
James, you just
a
don't just
racing
record
history,
blank.
single season racing in the UK since
You know, the safety car is going to take about 5 minutes to try. Well, the marshal have to clean this wreck up though.
nothing really good about that.
James, you don't know what it is.
Looks like one of the cars, well, maybe one of the driver's cars has stopped, I think. So they have to follow a bit to the green flags. That is just a stupid situation what happened
Yes,
there.
the car's at least 4 years old, but 11 years old. What you build it yourself, that's okay.
Mars will have no idea what is going on then. But they're going to time to 8 though.
And heading to the pit lane, so qualifying can resume.
In comes the safety car, and we're back to race Excuse me, please. The back.
Some drivers are still
Let me see my way of car with the clean car down Look how loud those cars are.
in March 2003.
One double time started like in the 80s. Chicken flags out. Looks like number 28 is coming to the pits, and that is Robin Dave.
We're all coming in to finish the session.
We're actually still going to pit, but some of them are on the map right now. Here goes some more. That boy 8 has got a lot of turbo, hasn't he? Jason Tibbs in third. And England. Where's that minute?
That's eight. Ninth, number 27. James River Critters.
Good work.
5,000 class. 136.242 and 10th, number 78, Mars Casaldini. 136.269.
That was a good one though for these combo cars. There's still more to come though. Was Scott Giles. He's in the number 5 white car. This is a bit like a winter car in the 70s though.
Other classes, mono.
And some classes. I'll put it in right now after a great run out there.
The temperature into the controlled hand coupe tyres that they all run nowadays, and with the grid of cars making their way round onto the Grand Prix circuit, the lights are out on the safety car. Should be usually a standing start for these cars, but with the safety car bringing them round, it's looking as though it's going to be potentially a rolling start for them. So around the Melbourne hairpin they will go, the full Grand Prix circuit, just under 2.5 miles, 2.4873 miles. I think it is to be absolutely precise, so as good as 2.5 miles. We'll wait and see as to whether it's going to be a rolling start for these. Usually it's been standing starts over the years for the SR1s, but Goddard's now onto the start-finish line, and as they head onto the start-finish line, we will get our first race of the day underway. Red lights on, red lights off. It looks as though it's not a bad start from James Lay from pole position. Going wheel to wheel with him is Darren de Leon that sits there in second place, but squeezing his way through. Fraser McFadden trying to squeeze his way through into second place, and he makes it through, but then runs wide on the exit of the corner, gets a little bit sideways, and I think Darren de Leon will already retake the second place that he lost on the run towards Red Gate Corner, and has already released James Lay, not just into the lead, but he's got a little bit of daylight between himself. Mark Williams dives up the inside of Fraser McFadden to grasp third place as they head down in towards the old hairpin. And by the look of things, the man from Dalkeith is going to hang on to it as well. The Scottish Saltire on the rear wing of his car. He is in third position. Fraser McFadden on cold tyres. You can see the car moving around, and bouncing over the curbs goes Andy Lowe as he looks to try and hang on to sixth position. Working their way through McLean's corner. He has lost out, however, as Mackenzie Walker goes through, and then the door is open for a further two cars to squeeze their way through, and that looked as though James Hadley also took the opportunity to go through there, side by side for third. Fraser McFadden has the inside line, heading in towards the chicane, and will make it through into third place. Mark Williams back down into fourth position. So down in towards the braking area for the Melbourne Loop. At the end of lap number one, they will work their way. There is Fraser McFadden looking to try and build momentum and try and catch the pair ahead. Now, Mark Williams has lost out enormously there. His car was in fourth place, wasn't it, going in towards the chicane? I thought I saw him make a slight mistake going into the chicane, but he's now dropped down towards the bottom of the top 10 by the look of things. Nick Sapolsky is in fourth place now, but coming under enormous pressure. He's got the black and red car of Mackenzie Walker right behind him, and then the number 21 of Will Hunt, who is going to conclude the first lap of the race. Bearing in mind the number 21 car of Will Hunt lies second in the championship standings. He is going to be in sixth place at the end of the first lap, and his main championship rival is leading the race. So down through Hollywood and the Craner curves, Nick Sapolsky at the wheel of the number 26 car, the man from Oldley Edge, sticking his elbows out. Mackenzie Walker, a winner last time out at Silverstone, looking to try and thread his way through into what would be fourth position. Nothing doing at the moment though, and all of the time whilst they're squabbling for fourth, for fifth, and with Will Hunt there for sixth place. And even Andy Lowe in seventh place, who's starting to close up. It's allowing the leading trio just to break away a little bit. In the subcategories, the Rookie Cup is being led by the car in second place at the moment, Darren de Leon, in his first season of racing, and the Fangio Trophy for drivers of a certain age. Old hairpin and tumbling down through the order. I think that might have been Ben Casely possibly, or Paul Atherton. Paul Atherton was running in last place, but I think it might be Ben Casely possibly who was inside the top 10. Now look at the battle in the background for fourth position. Mackenzie Walker's got the run. There's a spin, I'm afraid to say, and that is Ben Stone that's facing the wrong way at Goddard's corner. Should be able to fire the car back into life, but that is going to drop him into dead last, I'm afraid. So down through the Craner curves, this is our race leader, and of course remember the championship leader, James Lay, leading the way at the moment. If James Lay were to win this race, he would end up on 393 championship points. Will Hunt is currently in sixth position. He would be on 372 championship points. So that would be 21 points between the pair of them. And that would not be sufficient for James Lay to stitch up the championship in this race. It would go down to the final race of the season, which of course takes place later on today here at Donington Park.
Oh, he's off. Someone's...
And off, I'm afraid, has gone Darren de Leon. I didn't wonder where he'd gone, but yeah, Darren de Leon is off. The car is in the gravel, and I'm afraid to say that's not in the safest of places, and also off and in the gravel track.
Would this need to be a safety car though?
Yeah.
Yellow flags are out because of that white car is standing there.
Safety car
Safety car has been deployed.
about to be deployed. And fail. Yes, this is for driver of the yellow
Yep, safety car's out.
penalty for being out of position to start. In other words, he didn't stay at the back all the way last. Thirdly,
Can't believe it though.
I think the grey car is deliberately given 10 seconds up
I think so.
because he knew the safety car was coming out.
So the white car has stopped on track though.
Yeah.
You might have to clean that up though, unfortunately though.
Ken Stone, who's also got a 10-second penalty for his got to injury.
The pace car, safety car's come out again.
He seems to have lost.
So that's the
Oh,
same
finding that
though.
one now because one car being pushed out of the.
Well, that's number 3 coming to the pits.
Number 3, Paul.
Is he coming for a pit stop or is he has a drive through? I think it's the tyre change, I think.
And fifth at the moment is Will Hunt, with sixth being the car of Andy Lowe. The graphic on the left of your screen showing a few drivers that aren't competing in this one, so that is not the order on the left of your screen, I'm afraid, at the moment. After Andy Lowe in 6th position, the number 18 car of Mark Williams is 7th, the number 17 car of Gavin McAlpine is 8th, 9th is the number 53 car, despite his running wide down at the old hairpin a lap or so ago, which is Ben Casely, and completing the top 10 at the moment is the number 40 car, which is James Hadley, who started in 11th position, so he's gained 1 place so far. Just outside of the top 10, then to run you through the rest of the order, 11th should be Ben Stone, now that he has rejoined the race, and I think he will then have Paul Atherton behind him by the look of things as the last of the runners almost, so we'll have to wait and see. So safety car's still out there. Don't think we're going to go back to green flag racing this time through. Now, in terms of the championship mathematics at this stage, the additional point for the fastest lap is at the moment going the way still of Darren de Leon, prior to him disappearing out off circuit. So it would mean that if they remain in the order that they are, the car that leads the race, which is James Lay, 393 championship points he would be on at the end of this race, and Will Hunt, his main championship rival at the end wheel of the number 21 car, is in 5th position, so he would be just indeed out on the safety car. So we're going to be good to get going with there or thereabouts 10 minutes of racing. Watch out for that number 21 car, Will Hunt, 2nd in the championship, 5th in the race, needs to make a bit of progress here to try and keep right on the coattails in terms of the championship scoring of James Lay, because the gap was just 1 point at the beginning of qualifying. It was 3 points coming into this race, but it will be 19 points if they stay where they are at the moment. So we get the race back underway now, no overtaking until they reach the start-finish line. Green flag waves, we go back to racing. Somebody dives in the background for the pit lane, but it's a good restart from James Lay. Will Hunt is already looking to try and attack Nick Sapolsky. Up the inside he goes at Redgate corner. Yep, squeezes his way through. to fourth goes Will Hunt, doesn't run wide on the exit of it, so that now would put him on 377 points at the end of this race compared to the 393 for James Lay, so minimising the damage after what for him was poor qualifying, really, only fourth quickest, and then dropping to fifth and almost sixth at some station of this race, but he's now back to where he started when the red lights first went out. Will Hunt, what can he do about trying to close on the cars ahead is the big question. This is Andy Lowe in sixth place. He's got Wisconsin Mark Williams right behind him. Mark qualified in fifth position. Was running up inside the top three. All the two side by side. They always barge off the side of each other, but good driving by both, just giving each other enough room there as they carve their way through Coppice Corner. I think at the last moment Andy Lowe saw that the gap was certainly opened up by Mark Williams, and if he turned in, the inevitable was going to happen. So both drivers giving each other just about enough room as they head through the foggy TS's and onto the Grand Prix loop now with already just 8.5 minutes remaining. James Lay leads Fraser McFadden in second place. Mackenzie Walker in third, Will Hunt fourth, Nick Sapolsky in fifth place, Mark Williams in sixth, and then diving through to grab seventh place by the look of things. That was a good dive through there up the inside to gain the position was Gavin McAlpine. Gavin McAlpine had an awful qualifying session. He qualified at the very tail end of the field in 14th position and will come through and over the start-finish line this time through, I think inside the top 10 potentially. He was 8th last time through, and I think, is he going to improve his position? No, still remains 8th actually. Took the place going in towards the old hairpin, in towards the Melbourne hairpin, but lost it on the way out. So 7 3/4 minutes remaining. For the 7th time of asking, James Lay carves his way through the old hairpin. Fraser McFadden far enough behind him so as to not to worry the championship leader. Fraser McFadden also with a very small amount of damage to the tail end of his car. You see the bodywork on the left rear just flapping around a little bit. He will be conscious to the fact that Mackenzie Walker is not too far away as they head up into the blind entry double apex right-hander at Coppice Corner. You grab the first apex, you don't worry about the second one, let the car drift out all the way down towards the curbs on the exit of Coppice Corner, and then move over to the right-hand side of the circuit, dive onto the brakes, and in towards the left and the right flips at the Fogarty chicane. Now, the fastest lap of the race still going the way of Darren De Leon at the moment, so he is destined to pick up the additional championship point for that. This lap, Mackenzie Walker has gone purple through the middle sector. Will Hunt has gone purple through the first sector, so there's a couple of cars out there on quick laps this time through. Gavin McAlpine, that green and yellow car, was making progress. I think he's lost 2 places on this lap, so I think McAlpine from 8th might be back down to 10th at the end of the lap potentially. Over the start-finish line come the leading 4 cars. The order still remains the same. James Lay, Fraser McFadden, Mackenzie Walker, Will Hunt. We have got a new fastest lap of the race, and that goes the way of the championship leader as Mark Williams dives up the inside of Nick Sapolsky going in towards Redgate Corner, but breaks too late. Sapolsky straight away rizzles his way straight back past. So the new fastest lap, 1 minute 36.029 for this car here that leads the race and leads the championship. So at the moment, it's potentially maximum points with having qualified on pole for race 1 and in second fastest times qualified on pole already for race 2, has now picked up the fastest lap of the race and is leading. So 393 championship points potentially it would be at the end of this race for James Lay. And for Will Hunt, it would be 377. So the championship still at the moment will go down to the final race of the season, which takes place later on this afternoon. Now Will Hunt is in that white car with the blue flashes that sits there in 4th place. Through the Fogarty S's. They're on lap number 8 at the moment. We've got 5 minutes still remaining, and Will Hunt is in prime position now to try something on Mackenzie Walker for 3rd place. See whether he might be able to do it. 27 points for 4th position. If he can work his way through to 3rd, and running wide on the grass won't help, that would be an extra 3 championship points for Will Hunt. But small mistake there, coming out of the Melbourne hairpin, will have picked up a little bit of grass onto the tyres of Will Hunt, but he's pushing hard at this stage. He'll sit in the slipstream of Mackenzie Walker, too far away this time as they head up towards Redgate Corner, so he'll have to be content with 4th position still for the moment. This is a good little fight for the final podium spot. Mackenzie Walker would desperately like to try and hang on to the podium spot. He's not had huge amounts of podiums so far this season. He's had a torrid year, really, with a non-finisher Snetterton at round 1 of the championship. Round 3, 4 and 5 of the championship were all non-finishers at Brands Hatch. He had another non-finish at Silverstone, so it's been a tough season for Mackenzie Walker. He's had a first, a second, a third and a fourth, and they're his only point-scoring races so far. So another podium would be ideal for him, would not be ideal for the 21 though, with Will Hunt that sits behind still. Through Coppice Corner, in towards the straight that brings them down in towards the S's. So as they head down now towards the S's, is the gap closing between the pair of them on this lap? It looks as though, yeah, Will Hunt was about half a second quicker through the first sector. They've matched each other for pace, I think, through the second sector. No, they've matched each other for pace absolutely through both sectors, looking at it. Identical lap times through the middle sector of the lap, but Will Hunt at the inside line on the brakes heading in towards the Melbourne hairpin and squeezes his way through into the podium places. So another 3 championship points picked up for Will Hunt. Those could all prove important come the totting up at the end of the day. Now Mackenzie Walker takes a wider sweep in towards Goddard's to try and get a bit more momentum on the exit, but the job is done, I'm afraid. Will Hunt, 5 times a race winner so far this season, is through. Walker will close up in the slipstream. You can see the top 4 are a long way ahead of the 5th place car, which is Mark Williams in the background, and poor old Gavin McAlpine's had more problems. There's a spin for Gavin McAlpine. Hopefully he'll get the car fired up, but yeah, dropped from 9th to 10th on the previous lap, and I think we'll now tumble down towards the very tail end of the field. Now Will Hunt's having great third place. The number 21 car is already, you can see, has gapped now. Mackenzie Walker, what can he do in the remaining 2 3/4 minutes about Fraser McFadden? Well, not a great deal, but he's a 10th quicker in the first third of the lap, and you can see the gap is closing. He might be able to do. Ben was actually lying 4th overall in the championship standings coming into this weekend. Was Ben Stone. His best overall finish so far this season has been 5th places. That's 3 of those that he's had throughout the course of this season, but he's down in 8th place in this race at the moment. But as I say, rookie season, he's leading the rookie championship, and he's having a good little fight really in the background. So there goes James Lay. You can see he really has opened up the gap between himself and Fraser McFadden, and to set another new fastest lap of the race that time through James Lay. 1 minute 35.804 from James. Will Hunt was 0.2 of a second quicker than Fraser McFadden, so the gap second to third is beginning to close up, and Fraser McFadden is going to have to stick his elbows out to a degree if he wants to see whether he can hang on to second place. The good thing is for him is that we've only got 75 seconds of the race left, and I think Will Hunt has still got 5 or 6 car lengths to close up just to catch, let alone get past. So we should be on to what will be the last lap of the race this time through. Mackenzie Walker, I think now having settled for 4th position. Driver who first cut his teeth in the Lotus Cup UK, moved over to Radical Racing a couple of seasons ago, and as I say, last time out took his only win of the 2021 championship season, and I think that was his first win in the Radical SR1 Cup. He's been around it for a season or so, but I don't think he claimed a win last year. He had a couple of seconds at Brands Hatch last year, did Mackenzie Walker, and he was in the 2019 championship season, I think 4th was the best that he finished. So he'll have to settle for a place just off the podium this time through, with 22 seconds to go. Oh, is James Lay going to get over the start finish line and chalk another lap in? I think he is, you know. I think we're going to squeeze one further lap out of this race. So 15 seconds to go as he comes into the final corner. Is he going to get over the start finish line before the checkered flag? I would imagine he will, which for Will Hunt gives him 1 further lap to try and close the gap. Yet 5 seconds to go as James Lay comes over the start finish line. So there's another lap to go. Now Fraser McFadden will see the number 21 car looming ever larger in his mirrors as they head through Redgate Court.
Oh, this is going to be very close at the end of the race though.
Walker, none of this will worry James Lay, the championship leader, because he is on course for maximum points. Will Hunt did make it stick, but Fraser McFadden is back at the inside. He's then pushed wide, which might allow Mackenzie Walker to go through, and it is side by side, 3 abreast, heading up in towards Goddard's. How's this going to work its way through? Will Hunt has the inside line. It is Fraser McFadden who is the meat in the sandwich. There's lock brakes, and there is a spin for Will Hunt. That is the last thing he needed. It's going to be Fraser McFadden that comes through in 2nd place, Mackenzie Walker 3rd. Will Hunt will recover to finish in 4th position. He was looking to try and gain an extra 5 championship points. He ended up losing 3 championship points. So James Lay will be, if I've got the maths right, on 393 championship points heading into the final race of the season. Will Hunt will be on 377 championship points heading into the final race of the season. So mathematically, the championship stays alive for the last race of the season, but it is going to be very tight indeed. And for James Lay, that now means that he has won 5 races over the course of the 2021 championship season. He will be absolutely delighted with the way that things have panned out. It means he will have a 16-point championship lead heading into the final race of the season, with a maximum of 41 points available, 40 for the win. 1 extra point, remember, for the fastest lap as well to come in race number 2 of the weekend. But for James Lay, he will be really pleased that he has got the day off to the perfect start at the moment. Pole position for both races with the extra championship point. Each one of those will carry fastest lap in that race as well, which carries an additional championship point, and he has claimed the win, his 4th of the championship season, compared to Will Hunt, his main championship rival, who might have had an extra win compared to him, but he is going to be 16 points ahead going into the final championship round. And well, for James Lay, could he be the man that picks up the championship crown following the footsteps of the 2020 championship season, James Pinkerton, which also concluded its championship season here at Donington Park last year as well. We only saw 1 race, sadly, at Donington Park last year. The other 2 that were scheduled were abandoned due to awful weather conditions, whereas for this season we have got probably ideal conditions, a very light breeze, nice warm ambient temperatures as well. So we're going to see some quick laps coming in over the course of what will be today's racing here at Donington Park. We will see the Radical SR1 Cubs back out onto circuit for their final race of the 2021 championship season. The scheduled start time for it is 15:50, so 10 to 4 this afternoon is the scheduled start time. But of course, with all of the other support races going on here at Donington Park and other championships that are here, then of course that is subject to change. It may possibly come forward if we run ahead of time, but of course it could go backwards if there are some incidents out on circuit that require our fantastic Donington Park marshals to sort out. So do keep an eye on social media, and we will go live as soon as we can. So confirmation then of the results. James Lay claims the win, with Fraser McFadden in 2nd position, and Mackenzie Walker came through in the end to steal 3rd place away from Will Hunt, who at the final corner had a spin and dropped to 4th. Mark Williams finished in 5th place and was the winner of the Fangio Trophy. In 6th place it was Nick Sapolsky. 7th place went the way of our rookie winner, which was James Hadley, who was the first rookie home. 9th place in the end was the car of Ben Stoner. Completing the top 10 in the end was the number 17 car of Gavin McAlpine. Then just outside of the top 10, Ben Casely finished in 11th place. 12th place went the way of the number 3 car of Paul Atherton. And then we had retirements, I'm afraid, for both Darren De Leon, and there was a retirement also for James Ockenden. But that is it for the Radical SR1 Cup Championship. So they're using this almost as a sneaky testing session. And we'll look forward to seeing how they get on. Morgan did a really good job in qualifying that zip cap prepared car and supported car onto the outside of the front row of the grid. We'll guide you through the grid in a few moments' time, and as the last few officials and team representatives are cleared from the grid, this is a 25-minute race that will be coming up for round 17 of the championship. It is also not just for the overall championship.
Yes. We've got number 14, in fact. Number 14, which is the Philip Carter, representing McLaren. One president of 8
Cars, unless there's cars going in that space there.
One president of 934, 14, 18, 14, 15. Number 77, Hopper is representing McLaren. One president of 990, recycling number 3.
Well, this could be I'm using Pirelli tyres though. That's what I'm using Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines.
138.119 and decided for 198. Number 50 is the Carl Overs for the University of Georgia. 138.169 alongside the 139.21 of Bromley and Son Stewart.
We've also got the Sprint Championship, so that is for just the sprint races that we have each day, and leading that in terms of the championship standings on 122 points is the Porsche number 35 of Nick Phelps from the number 67 Ginetta of Simon Orange, who is 10 points adrift. That's the Sprint Cup Championship. In terms of the overall championship, it's the car that starts from pole position, which is Richard and Sam Neary. Richard is driving in this race that will start from pole. So we'll give you the grid then, no graphic to bring up, but we'll just guide you through the grid and the way that they line up. Car number 88, Richard Neary, starts from pole position alongside his number 66, which is Morgan Tilbrook. Row 2 of the grid is the Radical local man from just down the road at Nottingham. Number 7, Steve Burgess, lines up alongside 41, which is Tim Morley, who joins James Simons for this weekend. Row 3 of the grid is 61, John Dillon, and number 4, which will be Graham Tilley. And row 4 of the grid sees number 33, the GCAF Racing Porsche return in the hands of Seamus Jennings. Alongside will be 113, which should be Tom Webb of the two Webb brothers for this race. Row 5 of the grid is 9, that is Warren Gilbert, driving solo this weekend. Warren Jensen Lund, who owns the car and shares the car with Warren, was taken into hospital and had a fairly major operation earlier on this week. And though you'll be watching from hospital, Jensen, everybody here at Donington Park and everybody from New Motorsport and the GT Cup wishes you all the very best for your recovery, and we hope to see you back behind the wheel very soon indeed. So Warren Gilbert lines up alongside Paul Bailey in the SP Race Engineering. We usually say Brabham, but for this weekend it's the McLaren GT3 Can-Am that he's got out. The Brabham, there's some parts that are on back order at the moment, so we're hoping that we might see that car back out at Snetterton, but if we don't, I'm sure we'll see this fantastic McLaren Can-Am out, one of only three cars, there it is, the number 28 car that was ever built, based on an MP4-12C, but was built for regulations for a series that was scheduled to take place in America. Chassis number 1 is only done 500 kilometres, that car, so great to see it out there. And row 6 of the grid, it's the second of the GCAP Racing Porsches, number 25, David Shaw, lines up alongside 5, which is Richard Chamberlain. Row 7 is 24, which is Andre Borodin.
Here they go.
Enormous variety as ever, with so many different marks represented on the grid, and we're about to get our first of 4 races in the GT Cup Championship underway. The black Mercedes of Richard Neary on pole position, the largely white and orange McLaren of Morgan Tilbrook sitting alongside. Red lights are on the gantry, and when the lights go out, which they do now, the cars rocket themselves up towards Redgate Corner. Richard Neary with a good start. Remember, that car is the overall championship leading car as well, the Mercedes. Steve Burgess, I think in the Radical, might just sneak through into second place there as the rest of the cars all file their way up towards Redgate Corner for the first time, where everybody, I think, has been sensible. Somebody has run wide, and that's Richard Neary, the pole sitter, runs wide at Redgate Corner, all over the grass, and that has dropped that car way down through the order, outside of the top 10, and possibly even outside of the top 15. He's amongst the group GTH cars at this stage, so the GT3 Merc has got some work to do here in the hands of Richard Neary as he files past Tom Rawlings There's a spin in the background, I'm afraid to say, and it might have been possibly Carl Cavers that went around. But for the number 88 Mercedes of Richard Neary, the championship leader, that is not the start to the race that he wanted. It was Carl Cavers that went round in the background. So thankfully, the Beluga Motorsport Porsche Cayman has recovered. So Richard Neary with work to do here, picking his way still through some of the GTH competitors, and the extra power of the Mercedes will tell. So makes light work of the reigning champion, Josh Jackson. But everybody else, I think, is safely through the first lap without too much trauma. There is the number 41 car. That's Tim Morley that's on board that car for this weekend, sharing with James Simons. A really good qualifying session there. Tim Morley, we've seen him racing in things like VLN in the past, and the LNS series, which is the Nürburgring long distance series in reality. But the first lap is going to be chalked into the book. Radical leads in the hands of Steve Burgess. Lamborghini second, McLaren third, Porsche fourth, Lamborghini fifth, and Nissan completes the top six as Richard Chamberlain dives at the inside of Warren Gilbert's car to take a place away. That will be a change for 7th and 8th. Richard Neary concludes the first lap of the race down in 12th position, I'm afraid to say. So there's number 9, Warren Gilbert. That will please him that Richard Neary is behind, because that car is right up there in the championship standings. Richard Neary and Sam Neary on 388 points coming into this weekend. And for Warren Gilbert and Jensen Lunn, who will be watching on from his hospital bed, 351 from them.
Oh, there's one car trying to get past it.
I think everybody's safely through the first lap of the race. There goes the number 82 car. That will be James Guess, running in Group GTH. He's been sharing the car with various drivers over the course of the season, and it will be Tom Canning that's back on board that number 82 car for the pit stop races over the course of this weekend. So down and in towards the braking area for there goes the Mercedes of Richard Neary, still trying to make progress. There's the number 24 McLaren. Roy Millington's Ferrari sitting behind. Seamus Jennings doing a really good ride. Richard Chamberlain starting to make some more progress here, so that is another position that he has gained there. The Porsche rockets its way through and past Graham Tilley's Nissan. So Richard Chamberlain started this lap in 8th position. I think he's going to finish it in 6th place. Richard returning to the championship. Missed a few rounds because of issues with the Porsche. Great to see him back. Yeah, he's up to 6th position. Picked off both Warren Gilbert and Graham Tilley on that lap. So this is up towards us now. It was going to be Warren Gilbert fighting away. Instead, we now look back at what's going on with James Townsend fighting away. The lead of the race, though, Steve Burgess is starting to sprint away to a degree, whilst John Dillon, who is now in 2nd place, is coming under attack from Morgan Tilbrook. So both of those cars weaving their way through McLean's corner. John Dillon in the GT3 Lamborghini, the GT3 McLaren of Morgan Tilbrook sitting behind. I've got to say, Morgan Tilbrook is a driver who really has come on so well over the course of this last season or so under the tutorage of Marcus Clutton, the pro that shares the car with him. Morgan weaving from one side to the other. He's got the run here, I think. Is he going to be able to sneak his way through? Yes, he has. Through goes Morgan Tilbrook, up into 2nd position once more. The Lamborghini dropping down into 3rd. And can he hang on to it on the exit? Yes, he can. So it's Radical from Lamborghini, from McLaren as they head round through the Melbourne hairpin with 20 minutes of the schedule, 25 still remaining at this stage. Steve Burgess was leading by around about 1.5 seconds at the start of the lap. Now, did John Dillon make a small mistake there? I think he did mid-corner there. The Lamborghini just seemed to wash out wide a little bit. So over the start-finish line now come Morgan Tilbrook with daylight between himself and the Lamborghini. Took the place away from Seamus Jennings, doing good jobs at the wheel of the GCAT Racing Porsche that sits there in 4th position. 5th place is the leading Group GTC car at the moment, which is Tim Morley, but this car here leads the race overall and leads Group GTO, which is Steve Burgess. A multiple Radical champion over the years is Steve Burgess, and was also, would you believe, a former champion in British quad bike racing some years ago was Steve Burgess. So through the right-hander, Steve is at his local circuit. He lives just down the road at Nottingham, 45 years of age now is Steve. Car prepared by Rob Weldon's team, Raw Motorsport. And it's in the hands of the Radical Clubman's Cup champion from 2015, the former Radical Challenge champion. He was a runner-up in the European Championship as well with Steve some years ago. He's out front and leading the way. Now there is James Guess, who's had a spin, I'm afraid. Now there's damage to the right-hand side of that Aston Martin. Now, was that because of where he went through the gravel, or was, in fact, the front splitters all ripped off it as well? Was that contact that caused the spin, or was it the spin that caused the damage? Simply don't know. So that will have dropped him down through the order at this stage. Another thing that could well be worth watching is the lead battle for Group GTH at the moment. That's being led by the number 1 McLaren, but there are cars queuing up behind it for the lead of the group. So 18.5 minutes of the race to go. In towards the braking area for the Fogarty S's come the raft of the Group GTH cars. Over the start-finish line comes Richard Neary, who has that lap got past Graham Tilley. So that's another place gained by the Mercedes. It's now up into 7th place, having started from pole position. Graham Tilley drops down into 8th. Now, for Richard Neary, that puts that car 7th overall, but still 4th in its group currently. Where you finish in your group that accumulates the championship points. And here's the lead battle for Group GTH. So this is it. Heading round through Redgate Corner, the number 1 car leading it, which is going to be Josh Jackson, but right behind him is the number 74 car, which is Charles Clark, who's largely competing in the Porsche Sprint Challenge this year, the Visit Cayman Islands Porsche Sprint Challenge, but he's got right on his tailpipes another McLaren, that's number 26 car, in the hands of Tom Rawlings for this race, former Mini Challenge JCW racer, who finished, I think he was 7th overall in the Mini Challenge last year, was Tom, before moving over to sports car racing. So 1st, 2nd and 3rd in Group GTH, all together fighting over what is 15th, 16th and 17th overall in the race. But a great little fight it is for all 3 podium places in Group GTH, which is for, remember, the GT4 homologated cars. Closing in on them is the number 212 Ginetta. That's a Group GTA leading car, and that for this race, the number 212 car should be in the hands of Chris Hart, I believe. Chris, a former Fun Cup champion from 3-4 years ago now, 2018, I think he claimed that title. Into the braking area for the Melbourne hairpin comes the lead score for Group GTH. As for Richard Neary, that's another car picked off now. That is now up into 6th place for Richard Neary, to go past Richard Chamberlain's Porsche, who not unsurprisingly let him go because those are cars in different groups. So Richard Chamberlain can afford to lose the place, but still keep as many championship points. Another lap chalked into the book. This is going to be now 5 laps completed for the number 1 car in the hands of the reigning champion Josh Jackson, overall champion in GT Cup last year, when he claims the Group GTA title with Simon Orange, the pair of them. And Tom Rawlings now running side by side and getting through and ahead of Charles Clark. So through goes Tom Rawlings. There's a spin, I'm afraid. That's Neil Huggins that's had the spin. Partnered up once more this weekend with Top Cats Racing. Neil, who was a regular driver with them some years ago, partnered up with Charlotte Gilbert for this weekend. Good to see Neil back in the GT Cup after a few seasons away. Now that Tom Rawlings has unlocked the door to 2nd in Group GTH, can he hang on to it? Because Charles Clark is not going to make it easy, but it is just allowing Josh Jackson in the orange number 1 McLaren to escape up the road slightly. So that will please Josh Jackson, who lies 4th in the Sprint Cup standings at the wheel of that McLaren. The McLaren leads Group GTH in terms of the overall championship on 265 points, which I think puts it 4th overall in the championship if you add all of the groups together. But for the lead of the race, Morgan Tilbrook is starting to close up, you know. He's got the fastest lap of the race, Morgan, with a 1 minute 29.708. Last time through, he was a tenth of a second slower than that, but more importantly, was still 0.8 of a second quicker than Steve Burgess could muster. So this is for the race overall. Now both cars run in separate groups. It's a Group GTO car that leads the Radical. It's a Group GT3 car, the McLaren 750 SGT3, and Morgan Tilbrook sits there in 2nd position. So has the gap come down on this lap? Yeah, it's come down by 1/10 of a second in the 1st sector, by about 1/4 of a second in the 2nd sector. So the gap should be down to about half a second, I would have thought, by the end of this lap. Depends on how Morgan Tilbrook gets on in the 3rd sector. And of course, the closer he gets to Steve Burgess, he's then starting to run in the dirty air a little bit. And the aerodynamics of the McLaren won't like that. It works the Pirelli tyre that little bit harder as well, of course. So onto the brakes, in towards Goddard's, the final left-hander, which is really adverse camber midway through and on exit of it. Steve Burgess just gets the Radical a little bit sideways. There's traffic just up the road as well, which will be Alex Stevenson's Century Motorsport prepared Ginetta that will need dealing with. That car is running down towards the tail end of the field at the moment in, I think, 34th position. And also, just to confirm, James Guess's car, who we saw with damage to it, having had a trip through the gravel trap down at the old hairpin, that car is in the pit lane by the look of things. So the leaders now in traffic to deal with. Alex Stevenson will stay out of harm's way. Steve Burgess swings his way through before Schwann's curve. Morgan Tilbrook follows through, equally neither delayed, as they then turn their way through McLean's corner, start to accelerate their way uphill in towards the braking area for Coppice corner. There'll be further traffic as well. That'll be Carl Cavers, the number 50 Porsche Cayman, prepared by Veluga Motorsport, that they'll need to deal with. Now, that car is running in 33rd position, and that will be the next of the cars that Steve Burgess can't afford to be compromised for. As for the progress of Richard Neary, well, he got himself ahead of Tim Morley's Group GTC leading Lamborghini last time through, and is now starting to close in on the 4th place car of Seamus Jennings. Now, getting past the Lamborghini moves the Mercedes of Richard Neary from 6th to 5th, but it doesn't gain it any more points because it's still 4th in its group. It's now getting to the stage when it gets the Porsche. If it can get past that, it will be picking up extra championship points because the Porsche runs in Group GT3, as does then the Lamborghini ahead of John Dillon. So this is an important part of the race for Richard Neary. It's a very important part of the race for Steve Burgess as well, as he works his way through and past the next little bit of traffic, and that will be another one of the GT4 McLarens that is picked up. So Steve Burgess doing a good job here. The lead advantage though was just 0.2 of a second as they came over the start-finish line. Up the inside of the BMW, which joins us for this weekend, staying neatly out of the way, was Jason Garrett, the Petrolhead Motorsport E46 GTR. Nice to see that car out running in its group for this weekend. But for Steve Burgess, he has managed to get a little bit of traffic now between himself and Morgan Tilbrook, so the gap will have grown whilst they thread their way through the traffic. And that's always the intriguing thing, really, about the traffic, that plays into your hands on some laps and it doesn't on others, but you've just got to keep pushing. Oh, and Richard Neary brave, you can see the background there, trying around the outside of Seamus Jennings, the man from Northern Ireland. He's into the gravel trap at Coppice corner. All of the hard work to carve his way through the order has all been rather undone. Through goes Richard Chamberlain. So Richard Neary scrambles out of the gravel, having gone rally crossing in 7th position now. He was looking to try and hoist himself up into 4th, but he's down into 7th place. Now, for Tim Morley, it was a Group GTC Lamborghini. For Richard Chamberlain, it's a Group GTO Porsche. So didn't actually lose any championship points, but he's got dusty Pirelli tyres that are leading there, not quite side by side. But up towards Redgate corner, Morgan Tilbrook is trying a wider line in to try and come back on the exit. He's got the McLaren up the inside of the Radical as they head down through the Crater curves, and Steve Burgess is trying to brave it out and still for the moment hangs on to the lead of the race with 11 minutes to go. There's more traffic just up the road that we'll need dealing with, and that's the number 14 McLaren that is the next of those that is going to be passed by our race leader, and that should be picked off without too much problem as they carve their way past Phil Carter, joining the GT Cup Championship for this weekend is Phil. Partnered by Michael Broadhurst, who returns to the championship. It's the 4th car now that Greystone GT are putting out in GTH alone. They've got 5 cars here this weekend, Greystone. It's great to see the fact that they're bringing drivers from performance track days through into racing and partnering them up with pros, and it's certainly working well. More traffic has been now dealt with. That is going to be another one of the Orange Motorsport Ginettas that's been dealt with. That would have been James Townsend's car that was passed by Steve Burgess. He's also now managed to get one of the Greystone McLarens between himself and Morgan Tilbrook. Not for long though, as Morgan cars his way past Richard Mason's car, the number 22, puts a lap on it. And as we now head over the start-finish line, what's Morgan Tilbrook going to do? It's a good drive this time coming out. Steve Burgess might have to go defensive here up towards Redgate corner. In a straight line now, I think the Group GTO Radical might just have the legs on the McLaren. You can tell they're in different groups just by looking at the windscreen headers of them. Now, Nick Phelps there was fighting away with Roy Millington. Back towards what's going on the start-finish line. This is Tim Morley in 5th position, Richard Chamberlain in 6th position, and Richard Neary in 7th place. So 3 cars all busy squabbling away. They are all in different groups. Group GTC Lamborghini, Group GTO Orange Porsche, Group GT3 Mercedes as they thread their way down through the crater curves for 1 millionth of the time in this race. Richard Neary looking at the inside of Richard Chamberlain. Yeah, Richard Chamberlain lets it go again. Through goes the Mercedes. Gains a place. Doesn't pick up any extra championship points though as he goes through and past the car in a different group. Now, the next of the cars that Tim Morley should be dealt with, that's one of the Greystone McLarens that's just recovering onto the track, and that is also another GTH car. That's David Holloway's Century Motorsport Aston Martin. Now, those two may well have had a little bit of coming together there, because they were both not on the track, but at the same part of the circuit at a similar time, so there may well have been a small little bit of contact or avoidance between the two of them as they try to avoid clattering into each other. So 8.5 minutes of the race still to go. For the lead of Group GTH, that certainly now looks to be going away of Josh Jackson. The Titanic battle that we had has disappeared, and this is the best battle we've got on track at the moment, which is the Ginetta of Steve Burgess fighting away with Morgan Tilbrook. The car up the road that we'll be dealing with is a slightly battered Ginetta of Craig Wilkins, which has had a bit of a bite taken out of the front right corner of his Ginetta GT5 Super Cup car. The man from the West Midlands, hugely experienced, has been racing Porsches and has raced in the British GT Championship. And Blancpain in the past as Craig will allow the race leaders to side their way by. So through goes Steve Burgess, through goes Morgan Tilbrook, but the work for both of these doesn't stop there. There's more traffic to deal with as Richard Neary gets on the inside of Tim Morley in the GTC Lamborghini and gains a place. So he's now back up into 5th position once more, Richard Neary. But as we say, no extra championship points, I'm afraid, because the cars he's passing are running in a different group. Seamus Jennings in the GCAT Racing Porsche just briefly delayed there. Met the traffic in the wrong place, I'm afraid. Nothing that the Ginetta could do about it, Patrick Collins. Tim Morley under pressure from Richard Chamberlain. That will be for 6th and 7th positions now, and you can see just how busy the traffic is now. Now for Richard Neary, the Merc, if he can catch up with that Porsche heading out of Seamus Jennings, that is not just for overall position, that is for group position. So that would net extra championship points for Richard Neary. Remember that Mercedes does in the overall championship, and that's a spin. Contact with the GCAT Racing Porsche pitches into a spin, I'm afraid. Mark Upton's car. The Greystone McLaren will recover. A little bit of damage to the tail end of it, but I think that was Seamus Jennings. Missed his braking point there, or was caught out by where the McLaren braked. Made contact with it, pitched it into a spin. Through goes Richard Neary, picks up 4th position, and rather than being 4th in the group now, he's now 3rd in the group. So Richard Neary, extra championship points heading his way. The cars are running in the full championship. Some of them are just in the invitation class, and actually thinking about it, Seamus Jennings is one of those, so that wouldn't actually gain any extra championship points for Richard Neary because the car he's just got past runs in the invitation class this weekend. There goes number 67. That is Simon Orange. He currently lies, and runs wide and into the gravel trap at Comets Corner. Needs to keep his foot down and try and drag the car out of the gravel trap. He was in 22nd position and 2nd in Group GTA. He recovers, but through goes Craig Wilkins and picks up 2nd in the group now. So he will rejoin, I think, down in 24th position there. Simon Orange lost a couple of places. Now the next of the cars Richard Neary needs to catch, again, will be full position. That will be the championship points. Number 61 McLaren of John Dillon's not too far ahead. Love the wheels on the number 78 car, which is Tim Docker, former Volkswagen Racing Cup and TCR driver. We've got 5 minutes of the race still to go. Steve Burgess leads Morgan Tilbrook by nearly a second now. The gap has come out through the traffic. This is the gap back to 3rd and 4th, just coming out of Goddard's corner. The blue and take-low green McLaren of John Dillon coming under pressure now from Richard Neary. This is for 3rd position, and it's for 2nd and 3rd in Group GT3. both of these cars are in for the full championship season, so this now is for championship points. And Richard Neary, is he going to be able to unpick John Dillon? He's having a look on the inside of the Lamborghini. John Dillon makes it easy for him going in towards the old hairpin, but Richard Neary almost ran wide coming out, and that was another opportunity for John Dillon maybe to attack, but I think he's decided that the Mercy is quicker, maybe easier, rather than try and slow it up and hold yourself up. Sit behind him, see if he can drag you along and see what might happen with 4 minutes to go. So Richard Neary, who's had a real yo-yo of a race, wasn't he? Qualified, or sounded at least on pole position in the qualifying session this morning, was leading the race up towards Redgate Corner, dropped it wide and onto the grass, ended up something like, what was it, 10th, 11th at the end of the first lap, fought his way back up to 5th, was looking for 4th, went into the gravel trap at Coppins, dropped back down through the orders, now has to carve his way back through again. So there's plenty of stories for Richard to tell as to how the race has gone. It does look as though that car now is, despite all of its difficulties it's had on for an overall podium position, way behind these two cars, but still continue to lead. A flash of the lights from Morgan Tilbrook as they carve their way past the Make It Happen Ginetta of Chris Hart for what I think will be the second time in this race, and then down through the Crater curves. They're on lap number 15 at the moment, and the lead advantage has been whittled down to just a quarter of a second now between Steve Burgess and Morgan Tilbrook. So more traffic to deal with. They will head up towards the braking area of McLean's Corner and look to try and carve their way past that Tom Rawlings car for the second time. So the Haddock Motorsport McLaren will stay out of the way. Through goes Steve Burgess. Morgan Tilbrook, I think, briefly delayed just to make sure that the gap was going to be open for him still when he got there. And then there's a little bit of spare daylight for a period of time before they then catch up with the next of the cars, which is going to be the car that leads Group GTH at the moment. And that will be the number 1 McLaren. Number 14 McLaren we're looking at there. That's the extra car that Greystone have brought in for this weekend. Phil Carter rolling up his sleeves and slugging it out with James Townsend. They're further down through the order, those two, down in. I think James Townsend is something like 27th position, whereas the number 14 Ginetta, I think, is a lap ahead of it. But from nose to tail for the lead of the race, and heading on to the penultimate lap of the race it will be this time through. So Steve Burgess goes past the Group GTH leading McLaren. So the orange McLaren coming towards us leads Group GTH. The McLaren in the background is second in the group, so that's the advantage in the group that Josh Jackson has. But there's no real advantage for Steve Burgess. The 0.3 of a second between himself and Morgan Tilbrook equates to about, 2-3 car lengths at most between the Radical and the McLaren as they came over the start-finish line. It stretches out a little bit more as they head down through the Crater curves. Steve Burgess looking to try and hang on to the lead of the race. Now himself and Ben Dimmock so far this year have had plenty of group wins.
Top two are 7, 6, and 6.
So like 6 group wins over the course of the season, but they've not had an overall win so far this year in the GT Cup Championship. And neither has Morgan Tilbrook, who is now looking to try and take the lead of the race. Compromise was Steve Burgess through McLean's Corner and up towards Coppins Corner. He's still got the inside line, the all-important inside line, and in the straight line that Radical has got a bit more puff than the GT3 homologated McLaren that sits alongside, because of course the Radical does run in Group GTO open specification cars, so you can take the restrictors off them in reality. So Burgess leading, having to work overtime to try and hang on the lead of the race, and parks the car in the apex of the corner to try and get cleanly off it. The best overall result that Steve Burgess and Ben Dimmock, who shared this car all season, have had in the GT Cup was second position at Silverstone on the Grand Prix circuit last time out. They also took a third there. But are they on course for their first win of the season, or might Morgan Tilbrook grab his first win of the season? We've seen Morgan racing in GT Cup all season, but they've been racing in a Group GTH Mercedes-Benz, which runs in the GT4 specification, whereas now they are up to the GT3 category for this weekend and in their McLaren. So down through the Crater curves, we're into the final few seconds of the race. The clock will have ticked to 0. Did Richard Chamberlain have an issue there at the wheel of his Porsche? I'm just wondering whether that might be why we picked up on him coming slowly out. Yeah, he lost 2 places on the previous lap, did Richard Chamberlain, so I'm not sure. In fact, he's lost another place on that lap, so I don't think the Porsche is all well, I'm afraid. Here is Richard Neary. He is on course for 3rd position. He might be 16 seconds adrift of the leading pair, but it minutes at least got that car back to the sharp end of the order and second in the group. After, as we say, what was a great qualifying session by Sam, nearing his son, that qualified the car to pole.
In there. Well, it doesn't matter. Towards the last corner now.
Tilbrook, can he do anything about Steve Burgess on the run towards Goddard's corner? I don't think he'll beat him on the way out of the corner because the Radical seems to have a bit more grunt coming out of the corner. There's a car off in the background at the approach towards the chicane, but it's going to be Steve Burgess that comes through to claim the first overall win for himself and Ben Dimmock and the Raw Motorsports crew. Tom Rawlings, the Darwinist, I'm afraid, has gone off at the wheel of the car. There was second in Group GTH, Tom Rawlings, at the squeal of tyres, but McLaren's in the battle and going nowhere. So Steve Burgess claims the win. Morgan Tilbrook second. Richard Neary comes through in third position. The Lamborghini in the background, the blue car with the green flashes, is John Dillon, who's there in fourth position. Seamus Jennings in the Porsche finishes in fifth. Tim Morley, Group GTC honours, finishing in sixth place in the number 41 car in the Lamborghini. Seventh place over the start finish line goes the Nissan of Graham Tilley, the number 4 car. Eighth place should be the Porsche of Richard Chamberlain. Here he comes now towards the checkered flag. Ninth place should be Paul Bailey at the wheel of the McLaren Can-Am as well that I was telling you about earlier on. A very rare car. Even some of the teams that are running McLarens in this series have never seen one of the Can-Ams. It's chassis number 1 of the 3 that was ever built. But for that car there comes the Can-Am over the start-finish line now. Paul Bailey finishes in 9th place. 10th place in the end for Warren Gilbert. That came Stats Cars Championship hopes alive at the moment. Outside of the top 10, the number 35 Porsche of Nick Phelps should head towards the start-finish line shortly. That will claim 14th position. Should pick up the winning Group GTB. Here it comes now, the white car with its pink flashes, tucked up behind Roy Millington's Ferrari. But for Nick Phelps, that is the man who leads the Sprint Cup Championship and claims another group win in that race. So that does his championship hopes for the Sprint Cup no harm at all. And the winner of Group GTA should be the number 1 McLaren of Josh Jackson, which should be coming over the start-finish line very shortly. That will be the final group winner, and I think it might also be almost the last car to take the checker flag. Or no, it's already done so. It's already gone through to claim the checker flag in the winning Group GTH. So for Steve Burgess, he makes his way in towards the pit lane. He is the overall winner and the winner of Group GTO as well. For Morgan Tilbrook, it might have been second on the road, but it's the win in Group GT3 from them. And as we say, that is just the first of 4 races this weekend for the GT Cup Championship, which has been in rude health in 2021. The calendar will be shortly announced for 2022, and by the sounds of things, we are in for another mega season of racing in the 2022 GT Cup Championship. But that is just the first of 4 races this weekend. And remember, this isn't even the final racing weekend for GT Cup, because the championship will conclude in just 2 weekends' time on the 2nd and 3rd of October in Norfolk at Snetterton on the 300 circuit, with event number 7 of the season, and that'll be rounds 21, 22, 23 and 24 before we can start to fully declare our champions for this season. So hoping we might be able to run you down through a result or two. We'll just await and see whether we might be able to get the graphics up. We have had a few little small technical issues with some of the data feeds that we've been getting on the graphics, so apologies for that. That's why we didn't see a great deal of graphics coming up over the course of that race, but I'm hoping that we might be able to give you a full rundown of the order if we can get the graphics up in just a few moments' time. If not, I can certainly guide you through the way that the cars will have finished. You can see how busy the pit lane is, 38 cars to deal with, so let's just run you through the order then. Confirmation of the results. We won't be able to do it with a graphic, but it is number 7 Steve Burgess who claims the win from 66 Morgan Tilbrook in 2nd place, and 3rd place is number 88 Richard Neary. 4th place is 61 John Dillon. 5th goes away with 33 Seamus Jennings, and 6th we have number 41 Tim Morley. 7th was Graham Tilley. 8th place was Richard Chamberlain's Porsche. 9th place was Paul Bailey's McLaren, and completing the top 10 was number 9 Warren Gilbert. Group winners outside of the top 10. In 14th place, the Group GTB win went the way of number 35 Nick Phelps. The Group GTH win went the way of number 1, which was Josh Jackson, and the Group GT A win went the way of car number 212, which finished in 16th position, and that would have been Chris Hart, and that guides you through the results and our group winners that fall outside of the top 10. So that's it for the moment from the GT Cup. I think we're going to grab a quick word with Steve Burgess. Is down there in the pit lane. He'll be absolutely delighted that he...
Engines no more though, as
21 F3 Cup Championship. The cars are just heading off on their formation lap, and let's guide you through the grid for this first race of the weekend. A 15-minute race it will be for the F3 Cup Championship, which has already visited Silverstone, Castle Combe, Alton Park and Brands Hatch Indy circuits. It's a penultimate weekend of racing. The way the grid lines up is number 28, Stefano Lini, the championship leader, who has really been the man to beat so far this season. The Welshman lines up on pole position, and alongside him is former British GT racer and GT Cup racer Dominic Hall, at 28 and 8 on the front row of the grid. Row 2 of the grid is number 11, Shane Kelly, with the University of Wolverhampton prepared car, lining up alongside number 15, which is George Line. 11 and 15 on row number 2, and row 3 of the grid is number 66, John Corbett, lining up alongside 21, long-time F3 Cup competitor, which is the car of Tony Bishop, 66 and 21. And the final car on the grid is number 90, Mark Harrison. Good to see him back in the championship this weekend. Mark Harrison with the Chris Different Racing prepared number 90 car.
50 minutes for one race, okay. Right. Alright, so the Formula 3 cars are ready to go. There is. Oh, well, Tony Fiesta Costa, a Season 6 Formula E champion.
What's he doing?
Tony Fiesta Costa is a Formula E driver. I think he's doing that because he's finished Formula E.
That's saying a few years ago.
Championship here at Donington Park. The red lights come on, revs begin to rise, and as the lights go out, it's a good start from Stefano Lini from pole position, and not a bad start at all from Shane Kelly by the look of things, that sits behind as they head up towards the braking area for Redgate Corner. Shane Kelly looks to try and undo the number 8 car of Dominic Paul, who runs a little bit wide, and that leaves the door open for Shane Kelly to go through, and George Line is looking to try and follow suit as well, and he's able to go through as well. The former champion George Line sneaks his way through into what is 3rd position. Dominic Paul down to 4th position there, and already Stefano Lini looking to try and pull away in the lead of this race. Now there are 2 separate classes in the F3 Cup for the 2021 championship season. We've got the Cup class, which is for cars and engines and ECUs built between the start of January 2008 and the end of 2016. They certainly have maximum airflow restrictor on the engines as well, as you can see over to the left or the right of the car, depending on what engines they're running. But we have now the Euro class as well, which is for cars that comply with the 2018 and 2019 Euro Formula Open regulations, and that is what Stefano Lini's, the race leader, is. Slightly newer Dallara chassis in the hands of him. CF Racing lead. It is Shane Kelly that's there in 2nd place. Dominic Paul still coming under attack from John Corbett. John Corbett is having to attack and defend from Tony Bishop as well. Mark Harrison's not too far behind in the early stages of this one as they dive their way onto the brakes and start to turn their way up towards the end of the lap. You can see the lead advantage that has already been built up by Stefano Lini, but for Shane Kelly, he is having to work his socks off to try and keep the University of Wolverhampton prepared Dallara ahead of his teammate in reality. So they're both entered by the University of Wolverhampton for this weekend, Shane Kelly and George Line's car. Down through the Craner curves they'll go. When I say they're entered by the University of Wolverhampton, that means the cars are also prepared by the students that are doing motorsport degrees there as well. Fantastic opportunity for them to learn what is going to be their future craft in a competitive environment. But for the moment, George Line, the 2016 champion, is bottled up behind Shane Kelly and is not able to squeeze his way through. Stefano Lini.
Yeah, we laughing a bit. Not that busy.
Emerges from Melbourne head.
From the front row of the grid is now down towards the tail end of the field. So Stefano Lini, 4.5 seconds up the road from this pair here. Still Shane Kelly ahead of George Line, both in Dallara F308, so cars that hark back to the 2008 championship season of whether it be Formula 3 here in the UK, the British Formula 3 Championship, which sadly nowadays is gone, or what was the many other domestic and European series that existed back then for these cars. Slightly newer F317 of Stefano Lini out front and leading in his other F317. Cars that were built in 2017. So it's Dallara F317, so the F3 denotes the category that it was built for, and the final two digits give you the year of the chassis in reality, the way it works. So up towards the braking area for the S's. The number 66 car of John Corbett looking to try and close in on the pair ahead. Tony Bishop, Dominic Paul and Mark Harrison in the final three slots, but the best of the fight is still for second place between the two teammates at this stage. Sending their way through the right-hander at the Melbourne hairpin, accelerating their way up towards the braking area of Goddard's, the final corner. So turn number 12 in reality, through the left-hander at Goddard's, and over the start-finish line now will go all of the time while Stefano Lini is just disappearing up the road. Another new fastest lap of the race for the race leader. 1 minute 23.953 from Stefano Lini gives him a 7-second lead now. There's Dominic Paul, quite why he's not lapping at the kind of pace that we thought he would do. Dominic Paul qualified in a 1 minute 25.1. The lap that he's just done was 1 minute 26.8. He just seems to have gone backwards and doesn't at the moment seem to really have the car underneath him that he had in qualifying when he popped it onto the front row of the grid. Out of Clean's corner, 10 minutes to go. Shane Kelly still hanging on to second place, and this is the lead of the F3 Cup class, remember, as well, because it's the newer car of Stefano Lini that's out front. It is the points that you accumulate in your respective class that are important as well. I think originally the regulations were written based on points being scored overall, but there was a subsequent amendment to that in the regulations, which means that it's now where you finish in your respective class. So it's 35 points for a win in your class, it's 29 points for second, 24 for third, and so on. It diminishes. 2 points for pole position during qualifying, 2 points for the fastest lap of the race, which has just been bettered by Stefano Lini. 1 minute 23.450 for Stefano Lini that time through. Hugh Lloyd, the man behind CF Racing that prepares this car, a very, very talented racer himself, and whenever he appears, which he does sporadically in F3 Cup, is always bang on the pace. But he will be hoping that his driver can push on for what is already looking like another dominant victory here. 9.5 seconds to the good for Stefano Lini. And there's no let up in the pace either. He set the fastest lap of the race last time through. He's already gone purple in the first sector this time through. The first sector brings him from the start-finish line down to Redgate Corner through Hollywood and part the way through the Craner Curves. From there, it's to about this point on the track where we get through the second sector. And he's gone purple in the second sector as well. So he might have a huge lead, but he's still pushing as hard as you can. And there you can see the relative advantage that he's got. So Lini already onto the Grand Prix loop, heading down towards Melbourne hairpin. Shane Kelly and George Line only just working their way through the S's at this stage. Fantastic to see these F3 cars still being kept alive, and whilst we perhaps haven't got as many on the grid as we would wish, Monoposto Racing Club working really, really hard to try and build the championship, and I'm sure that once the world in general returns to normal, a few of those drivers that we've seen out in the championship regularly over the years, the likes of Alex Forbes and Robbie Watson, Tony Bishop, Stuart Wiltshire, and father and son pairing Patrick and Philip Jeans will return to the championship as well, and hopefully we'll be back to the kinds of numbers we've seen F3 Cup out over the course of the previous years. still good racing, still close racing as well. And for smile per mile and the way that these cars pack the performance and the punch that they do it with, I'd imagine you can't go single-seater racing with this kind of performance for much more. Big mistake for John Corbett in the background. The car skitters across the grass, bounces into the air, and I think that's going to put him off into a spin. I'm not surprised. I'm surprised he's still got the front wing on that car, because it's right and off, I'm afraid, has gone Tony Bishop into the barriers. Is Tony. Now I wonder if he got tangled up trying to avoid John Corbett there. Didn't quite see it. We just saw Corbett launched into the air, and it looked as though he was going to go for the outside of the circuit to the inside. Now, I personally think there was either contact as Corbett lost control and Tony Bishop was scooped up in the moment, but on the basis that John Corbett is continuing, you suggest there wasn't contact, and whilst John Corbett was out of control, Tony Bishop took avoiding action, and very sadly, through no fault of his own, he's the car now that's in the barriers with damage, and John Corbett can continue on his merry way. 6.5 minutes remaining. Stefano Lini is still continuing to lead. Last time through was another new fastest lap of the race. Nice to see that out of the car and fine is Tony Bishop. Car less so, I'm afraid, is Dallara, which was also running in the F3 Euro class as well. Stefano Lini with a 1:23.406 last time through. He's now finally, for the first time in this race, just starting to ease his pace a little bit, because he's built a 13.4 second lead between this pair here. Shane Kelly in second place and leading the F3 Cup class. He's on 297 points in the championship standings coming into this weekend. Only 19 points behind him in the championship is George Line, who is right behind him in terms of this race. Shane Kelly, the main thing is he's going to outscore his main championship rival. So out of Coppice corner for what is the 7th time of asking. In towards the braking area for the S's, they will thread their way. As a result of the retirement of Tony Bishop, that now means that Dominic Paul moves up into 4th position now at the wheel of the number 8 car. He got through and past Mark Harrison on... he got through and past both Richard Corbett and Tony Bishop on that previous lap as a result of their spins and subsequent retirements. So Dominic Paul, the number 8 car, now up into 4th position. Number 90, the other Chris Stidman racing prepared car, up into 5th position. Chris Stidman, another team owner who has sporadically raced in F3 Cup in recent years, was a regular competitor a few years earlier, but of course is now concentrating on running his own team, not just in the F3 Cup, but also in the GB3 Championship as its badge now.
Very good for the race car here at this circuit. Oh, that was a bit wide there for that first place leader though. I think there's 6 cars left now. I think one of them has retired, I think. Oh, here we go. The battle for second place. Oh, my word. That was almost going to make contact though, that these 2 cars up ahead.
Seconds in hand between himself and the car behind, which is the recovering car of John Corbett. I think I referred to him as Richard Corbett. John Corbett in this race. Now, side by side, George Line has got a bit of a run here on Shane Kelly. Couldn't do anything on the way in towards Redgate Corner. Can he come back on the exit? No, not at all. Shane Kelly's cleanly off the corner. Now, this is for 2nd and 3rd overall in the race, but it is for the lead of the F3 Cup class, and the former champion is looking to try and attack his teammate here. Shane Kelly sweeps across the nose of George Line, and the 2016 champion is not able to go through, and if anything, he's lost a little bit of time as a result of that. So perhaps realised that Shane Kelly was going to sweep across the nose. He would have lost a little bit of aero off the front of his nose as well, as Shane Kelly made sure he was in the dirty air. And for George Line, it certainly looks as though for the moment, he has lost a little bit of ground. They matched each other for pace through the first sector, but through the second sector, 1.6 0.2 seconds quicker was Shane Kelly. So the gap at the moment is about 1.4 seconds between the pair of them. It was just 0.2 as they came over the start-finish line. So onto the brakes goes Shane. George looking to try and fight back. Stefano Lini in the meantime well up the road in the lead of the race and still posting fastest laps as well, I ought to say. 1 minute 23.070. He is now on his penultimate lap of the race, it will be, Stefano Lini. And as for the lead advantage that he has between himself and Shane Kelly, it's 20.7 seconds exactly that time as they came over the start-finish line. Shane Kelly is there or thereabouts, second ahead of George Line, who was 0.99.
So the race lead of this F3
Gets onto his
is
final
on
lap
to
of the
that
race, we
very
just saw him head
last
through a
lap.
shot there. And
So this will be a great
it's
race.
going to be a long, long gap back before we see there's Stefano Lini just heading through Hollywood and down through the crater curves on his last lap of the race, and more than on course by the look of things for what will be win number 11, win number 10 of the season, I should say, win number 10 of the season, who's going to finish in second and take top honours in the F3 Cup class, so it's still very much up for grabs. So Stefano Lini, so the only race he hasn't won so far this season was when he was given a time penalty for exceeding circuit limits, and he's pushed too hard and he's going to be in the gravel trap at Coppice Corner. There was no need for Stefano Lini to be pushing that hard. He built a 23-second advantage, and all of a sudden he's just overstepped the mark of what the car was willing to do, and I'm afraid he's out of the race now. Shane Kelly is just coming up to that part of the circuit now. You'll see the stricken car of Stefano Lini and know that he is now not just on course for a class win, he is on course for an overall win in what has been a totally dominant season from Stefano Lini, who, as I say, had won every race on the road, and the only one he didn't claim the victory was when he was given the time penalty, but he's pushed too hard, he's overdone it when he didn't need to, and Shane Kelly and George Line are now fighting for the lead of the race, and I think the pair of them know it. George Line tries the outside line and breaks a little bit late at Melbourne hairpin. He'll get a bit more momentum off the corner, but they head up towards the final corner this time through, and I think as long as Shane Kelly is neat and tidy, grabs the apex and gets cleanly off the corner, he should be on for the win. George Line snatches the brakes, so late does he try, but it is going to be a win for Shane Kelly. First overall win for Shane Kelly so far this season. George Line misses out on what would have been his second overall win of the championship season, because he did claim the win at Brands Hatch. And third, and a rather surprised, I would have thought Dominic Paul will come through in third position for what was a bit of a yo-yo race from him, and there
Oh dear me.
Okay. Trying to push it to it. I think it's just showboating anyway.
Oh, that's such a shame though. I don't know what happened there. So this guy finishes in fourth. I can't believe the race leader had gone on the very last lap. And I cannot believe it though. I remember when Hacker lost the lead in 2001 at his last lap, he had his engine blowout. A tyre blowout from Kimi Raikkonen in 2005 European Grand Prix, costing the win to Alonso. And now this. The very last lap of this, the race leader had gone off, and now the black and white car won, head to the green and yellow car, because the race leader went off the last lap of the hairpin. Unbelievable, I didn't see that coming then, guys. Well, that's Formula 3 done then, and I think there might be one more race to come then, so that is good for this then, guys. Just tune in for more. Stay tuned to see if there's more coming action in this race coming up then, or maybe that's it for now. Great racing in Donington it is. Okay, the track is now fully cleared up though. Big wheel spinning then, so as we will prepare for seeing these cars again. You just saw earlier this morning or the afternoon though. By 12 o'clock though. It's these 14 cars again. Well, that great car had a good run from that first race though. Means this is the second race though. How would this second race will be doing well for these 14 cars though? Number said they need to get a good charge back up here though. So
it's just heading up towards Goddard's Corner. And are we going to see James Lay crown the champion? Could it be Will Hunt that will be crowned the champion? We will have to wait and see how the maths work out, subject to their finishing position. So neat 2x2 order, ready for the rolling start. Red lights are on the gantry on the right-hand side of your screens. And as the lights go out, which they do now, we get the race underway. James Lay doesn't get a bad start. Darren De Leon is pushing him though, squeezing him as much as he can. And then Jinx out to take as wide a sweep in towards Redgate Corner. And is he going to go for the lead of the race? He's running side by side with James Lay for the lead of the race, and might squeeze his way through. They are still side by side onto the top of Hollywood and down through the Craner curves, but James Lay picks up the early race lead, and there's a big spin. Mark Williams has a big spin in the middle of the pack. Have to take avoiding action goes Fraser McFadden. Nick Sapolsky also got tangled up in that there. I think they will all continue, but that has split the pack to a degree as James Lay leads the race. Darren De Leon is there in second place, and who's there in third? Well, there's a stricken car of Mark Williams. He's going nowhere for the moment, but who's there in third? It's Will Hunt at the moment. So he has to finish ahead of James Lay to stand any chance of claiming the championship. And with Mark Williams stricken on circuit and Nick Sapolsky stricken on circuit, there is a possibility we might have to go full course caution, but for the moment, no chance of a safety car. The cars continue on their merry way as they head for the first time through the S's. But I'm hearing from race control the safety car is indeed coming out. So yeah, there it is on your screens. Safety car will be deployed to scoop up the car of Mark Williams and to scoop up the stricken car of the man from Oldley Edge as well, which is Nick Sapolsky, although the driver who used to race him the different sports car championship. So up towards the conclusion of the lap with the safety car boards out and yellow flags waving. There's instantly no overtaking, and they will have to just catch the safety car, which will be sitting at pit lane exit, I would imagine. Yeah, there it is, ready to scoop them all up. So weaving from side to side, trying to maintain the temperature in their controlled Hankook tyres. A couple of seasons ago now, Hankook were announced as the global partner for the tyre supply on all Radical series that we see. Whilst Radical is a UK-based company based in Peterborough in Cambridgeshire, globally they have been such a success stories with championships not just in the UK but throughout Europe, into the Middle East, into America as well. You look into Scandinavia, there are championships as well. Far Eastern market, we see cars out there, and I'm sure there are probably some regional championships out in the Far East as well, but it really has been a global success, whether it be the bottom rung of the ladder as such in terms of Radical championships that we see, which is this SR1 Cup, or clambering through all the different models that they have available, the SR3, the SR10, the RXC, whether it be the coupes or the Spiders as well. So many different cars available, and Radical as ever, always on the front foot, always looking to move forward, and always providing that fantastic customer support as well. So James Lay, if he were to win this race, long way to go yet, don't forget, but if he were to win it, then that's the championship done and dusted. If he were to finish in second place, even if Will Hunt wins the race, the championship is done and dusted. If James Lay finishes in third place or fourth place, he is still the champion. Now, if he finishes in fifth place, James Lay, and Will Hunt wins the race, that's still not enough. But if he finishes in fifth place, Will Hunt wins the race and sets the fastest lap of the race, they would both be on 418 points, but at that point, Will Hunt would have two more wins than James Lay, so he would win the championship on count back. But it means that James Lay would have to finish fifth. Will Hunt would have to win the race and set the fastest lap. If he didn't set the fastest lap as well, it still wouldn't be enough. So that's the kind of position that we're in at the moment. As long as James Lay finishes in the top four, he's good. Absolutely, he's good. And subject to official confirmation, of course, he would be the champion. But there's still plenty of racing to go. Shouldn't take long to scoop up the stricken cars of Nick Sapolsky and Mark Williams, and then we should be able to get the race back underway. I think Nick Sapolsky actually might not want scooping up. I think safety car lights are out already. I think he's managed to get his car back onto track and has now caught up with the tail end of the train. So it's just the one car that we lost, which is Mark Williams. So we've still got 13 cars in this race. Lights are off on the safety car, so we're about to get going once more. Keep your eyes on car number 21, Will Hunt. He will want to be in full attack mode. He will want to very quickly work his way past. There is Nick Sapolsky's car, so he has joined the tail end of the field. He will very quickly want to work his way past the number 2 car of Daryl de Leon, who is the leading rookie that we've got in the field at the moment. But of course, he can't overtake until the start-finish line on a restart, so he just has to make sure he can be a centimetre behind. You can't have your nose ahead, however. We get the race back underway. Final round of the championship. 15 minutes to go, and James Lay gets his foot down, gets on with it straight away. Darren de Leon sitting there in second place. Will Hunt third. Mackenzie Walker in fourth place. The leading driver in the Fancho Trophy is the number 22 car of Andy Lowe, who's there in fifth place. James Ockenden looking to try and make progress there as he looked to try and squeeze his way through and past Paul Atherton's car, which he managed to do. So that's now Ockenden up into what will be 8th position. The number 3 car of Paul Atherton drops down into 9th place, but James Lay is on it straight away. He knows exactly what he needs to do, and if he can lead it from the front, then it makes things a lot easier for him. The one good thing is, whilst he's got Daryl de Leon not that far behind, he knows that Darren de Leon is not in this main championship squabble at the front, so he can just afford to bide his time, and as long as he's not coming under pressure from Will Hunt, and even if Will Hunt were putting him under pressure, if I was James Lay, I'd let Will Hunt go and just make sure you do enough. He knows what the maths will be absolutely coming into this race. Many drivers will say, well, we won't worry what the championship looks like until the final round. Well, this is the final round, which means that he will have embedded in his mind already all of the different championship outcomes and exactly what he needs to do in this race to make sure he would be the champion. So in towards the Melbourne hairpin. It's only the 3rd lap that they are on at the moment. Running a little bit wide there is Paul Atherton, who is going to get picked off by the next couple of cars that sit behind, I would have thought. Ben Stone, I think, squeezing his way through there. So that means Atherton would have lost a couple of places on that lap. And Will Hunt isn't really making an impression on the lead too at the moment, is he? The number 21 car, the white car with its blue flashes, is sitting there in 3rd place and has dropped a further half a second behind Daryl de Leon on that lap. 3 wide coming in towards Redgate Corner. That's the number 3 car of Paul Atherton. James Hadley is in there, and Nick Sapolsky trying to thread the needle, goes between the pair of them as he heads out of Redgate Corner. Great driving from Nick Sapolsky. Wonderful stuff. Looked like he was going to get squeezed. He got a little bit out of shape as well, but threads his way. 2 for the price of 1 there for Nick Sapolsky, using all of that experience in his hand, racing the likes of Ginetta GT5s in the past and Radicals over the course of the last season or so. Number 17 car as well. Oh, a little bit of contact there, was there, as all of a sudden the number 4 car started to falter as it came out of McLean's corner. Ben Stone, do wonder whether maybe the chain broke on that car there, because there was almost a touch between the two, and Ben Stone's car is out of the race, I'm afraid to say, which is an enormous shame for Ben Stone. So he parks the car up and is no more. That is the Rookie Cup Championship leader as well. But in the absence of Alex Spooner this weekend, should hopefully just about be enough, because the car that's 3rd in the Rookie Cup standings, Daryl de Leon, only did the Silverstone round. So I think Ben Stone is absolutely assured the Rookie Cup for this year. Now for the lead of the race, Darren de Leon has gone through, and that has a bit of an implication now, because no longer does James Lay lead the race. He would now be on 429 points if he stayed where he was. Will Hunt would be on 407. Who's got the fastest lap of the race? Daryl de Leon. So the extra championship point is going neither one way nor the other in terms of the championship protagonists. But this is still not good enough for Will Hunt, sitting there in 3rd position. And it's an enormous shame for Will Hunt, really, that he's not in a slightly stronger position, because he has. You know, you look at the results, and arguably he's been just about the slightly better driver of the two. And the only reason he is behind James Lay in terms of the championship really is because of retirement that he had. And if this were a championship where you could drop your worst score, it would be very different. But the championship regulations say you have to count every single round, and they've been like that for a good number of years. And unfortunately for Will Hunt, he had a non-finish in the first of the 3 races at Silverstone, so he has been playing catch-up ever since, really. And to bring it to the final race of the championship season is still a good...
It's out of the race. Cannot believe it, though.
back on course though.
Now comes Darren de Leon. He has just posted 1 minute 35.718. Now is the fastest lap of the race, extending his lead margin to still only just under 9/10 of a second. So James Lay is not that far behind, but he knows full well that as long as he continues to circulate in second place and is just putting enough tail up to himself and Will Hunt, that's still enough for the championship. James Hadley coming under pressure from Gavin McAlpine. That's for the final place inside the top 10 as they dive their way down through the greater curves. Quality car of James just ahead of Gavin McAlpine as they thread their way out of the old hairpin. Nick Sapolsky still making progress as well following his off in that incident that he got involved with Mark Williams down through the crater curves on the first lap. He's got past James Ockenden this time through, so that'll put Nick Sapolsky now up to 8th position. And the next of the cars is going to want to try and catch us that little trio of cars that lie ahead. So Darrell de Leon out front and leading the race. 0.8 of a second, as you can see on the left of the screen there, is the gap between the pair of them. This is the fight I was talking about. This is Andy Lowe going under attack from Fraser McFadden and also the number 53 car as well, which is Ben Casely. Ben Casely, I think, might lose out here as McFadden is going to squeeze his way through. Yep, so through has gone Fraser McFadden. Now Fraser McFadden is looking to try and attack Andy Lowe's car. Andy Lowe is leading the Fangio Trophy at the moment.
Back in front. Nine is still in the race on lap 7.
He's quite comfortably leading that, actually. He's 5th. The next of the Fangio runners is all the way down in 11th place, which I think is Gavin McAlpine. Fraser McFadden sideways coming out of Redgate Corner. Carries a lot more momentum onto the top of the Crater Curves and Hollywood side by side midway through the craters. But if the number 7 car of McFadden can hang on to it, he's got the inside line for the old hairpin. Works his way through, gains the place. Good driving there from Fraser McFadden. Started this race in 4th position. Also got tangled up with Mark Williams and Nick Sapolsky incident down through the Crater Curves early doors and is now starting to work his way back up through the order. So he's back up into 5th position now. Not quite where he started the race. Another place gain would do that, but he's got a lot of work to do if he wants to catch the next of the cars ahead. So it'll be about 5 seconds up the road, I would have thought. And that would be Mackenzie Walker's car, which is still out of shot at the moment. So in the sunshine here at Donington Park, heading down in towards the braking area for the S's. The number 53 car of Ben Casely jinks out to at least show the nose of it to Andy Lowe, but Andy Lowe will ignore what's going on in his mirrors, concentrate on the road ahead for sure. And the two of them are still pretty much rooted together as they head downhill in towards the braking area for the Melbourne hairpin. 20-minute race, 7.5 minutes to go, and a championship still up for grabs at this stage. Now, fastest lap of the race this time has gone the way of James Lay, who picks up the additional championship point for the moment, 1 minute 35.629. He closes to within a second of the race leader, Darrell de Leon. He was a 10th and a half of a second quicker than him over the course of that lap, so the gap is coming down. So that would now put James Lay on 430 points in the championship if he stays where he is. That would be 23 points ahead of what Will Hunt will have amassed over the course of the 2021 championship season, all subject to official confirmation and of course the technical checks that need doing at the end of the race. But on the road at least it certainly looks as though James Lay is ever more taking a step towards the championship title for this year. Elsewhere down through the order, Andy Lowe still coming under attack from Ben Casely, who at the moment can't work his way inside the top 6, can he?
8 laps completed, I would say. On this lap, James Lay's closed up a little, 0.683 of a second. It's come down.
James 3 is winning the race in 2nd place. Now look how close James is. There's no James though.
Casey was a little bit out of shape going in towards the Melbourne hairpin. The two of them briefly brushed off each other. They both gave each other enough room, and yeah, I think that Andy Lowe probably would have felt a little bit hard done by that if you could see the time.
Side by side, oh my word. That is perfect what that is. two cars side by side up the hill. And looks like, are they going to make it through easily? Yes, they will. Oh, and the only car gets past the blue car in the crowd. That's a good move that was indeed. Great action that is, though, for that move then. Very good racing in Donington, though. Even though that Senna moved there on Wrangling in '93, though. And yeah, been very great to see how this second goes to plan, though. Still a few more laps left to go, though, but it's the leader, number 9, had to 39 and 21. Still a comfortable lead, though. Another scientific future for me, for racing and engineering as well. But the 9 is still in the race, though. All of 5. Number 39, 21, and 27 is still far behind them. Well, the red car has just got past the white car now, and now I think it's now up into 7th place now, that is. The green and yellow car, that's 17, is in last place, though. So, not a lot of catching up to do, though, in the last few laps, though. This is lap number 9, or 10, I think it is. And it's still the number 9 who leads in Donington Park. This Grand Prix can be very good for this race, though. But for the rest of the field, though, had their qualifiers done a few hours ago, and now they have a good press to have got a lot of work to do. The time is ticking down.
Off the race leader over the start-finish line. He'll get a bit of a toe, but he's way too far away to try anything at Redgate Corner. Nobody lapping faster than previous laps last time through to take fastest laps away. Big squeal of tyres in the background. Was that Will Hunt? Yeah, it might have been Will Hunt, maybe with a bit of a moment. Will was pushing on the previous lap. He just set his best individual lap of the race so far. That was still only a tenth of a second away from the fastest lap of the race. So Will Hunt pushing hard, but yeah, I think that first sector, I think he might have had a bit of a moment up at Redgate Corner. So I think the gap second to third has increased a little bit more this time through. So they are on their penultimate lap of the race. We may well see the SR1s back out racing again this year, but that will just be an invitational race that they are eligible to join at Spa Francorchamps in October, where the Radical Challenge will draw to a conclusion. So whilst those cars can compete in that race, it's not a championship round for them, so it's the last full championship round, but not necessarily the last race of the season for many of these drivers. But for James Lay, all of the hard work, and everybody says consistency is what wins championships, and absolutely, James Lay so far this season, 4 race wins now following the race win from earlier on, 3 second places, 2 third places and a 4th place. At the moment it's looking as though it's going to be good enough to stitch up the championship if you add this second place to it as well. Whereas for Will Hunt, he might have had 4 race wins and 3 seconds, and 5 race wins, I should say, rather, and 3 second places, plus the 4th place from earlier on. But it's the DNF that's undone him, that did not finish at Silverstone. So we're on to the last racing lap of the championship season for Darrell de Leon, James Lay and Will Hunt, and I think Will Hunt probably knows that the inevitable is going to happen now, that whilst it might be his best championship year in the SR1 Cup, he is going to come up just short, I'm afraid. Been a good season from him, claiming more wins than anybody else, but that white car with its day-glow green flashes to it in the hands of James Lay is looking on course for a win in the first race of the weekend, a runners-up spot in the second race of the weekend. Now he's only half a lap away from, I think, putting the championship out of reach from Will Hunt, because it is looking as though Will Hunt runs wide as well, coming out of Coppice Corner on the final lap. He will be able to dig his way back out of the gravel, but that is pretty much it now for Will Hunt. He will not lose a place, but that is it. It's dropped himself away from anything that might go on directly ahead of him. But up towards the penultimate corner on the final race of the season comes Darrell de Leon. He is on for what is going to be his first win in the Radical SR1 Cup, whereas for James Lay, he is on for the championship. We've still got squabbles going on further down through the order. Andy Lowe coming under pressure from James Ockenden as they head through Coppice Corner for the final time. But up towards the final corner, Daryl de Leon is on course for his first win of the season. But in second place, James Lay, subject to official confirmation, is the Radical SR1 Cup champion for 2021. He will know that the maths are good enough and will, subject to that official confirmation, there is your champion for the 2021 season. And what a great, consistent season it has been for James Lay. Andy Lowe and James Ockenden still busy fighting away to work out who's going to finish 8th and who's going to finish 9th. But as they head up towards Goddard, let's just keep an eye on the distance and see if we might be able to pick out whether Andy Lowe can hang on to it. Yes, he has. Yeah, Andy Lowe has just hung on to it on the charge to the flag. So good little fight all the way through the orders that we've had. But Daryl de Leon not only claims the win, he was the first of the rookies home as well, and he set the fastest lap of the race as well. But for number 39, that's where the celebrations will be going this weekend, because James Lay is going to be the champion at the end of this one, and following the footsteps of the 2020 champion, which was James Pinkerton. And it is 4 wins for him, 4 second places, 2 third places, and his worst result of the season, a 4th position. When your worst result of any one racing season is a 4th place, and that is the only time you finish off the podium, you are always going to finish in a very strong position.
And for the Donington fans, I think will be loving it though for this as well. Very great for this circuit, though it is.